Hi there, Kelsey here. So this time around, I had a difficult time finding a cultural host. Again, I wanted to make tamales with Alex, but it's actually a really laborious and time-consuming process, and we couldn't find a common time to meet and actually make them. So this time around, I'm going to talk about a different experience I had with another culture. I visited the Islamic Student Center's mosque with a religious and cultural studies class early on in my time here at MSU. Not a single person in the class was Muslim, but the class focused on Africa, where Islam is, of course, a popular religion. So to acquaint us with the focus of the studies, the professor scheduled a visit with the imam at the student center. And remember, I grew up Catholic in a rural area. I said in another GLP video that I didn't even know there were other religions growing up until I was in middle school. So needless to say, I knew absolutely nothing about Islam. So going to the mosque was interesting. We, of course, had to remove our shoes and wash our hands and different things like that. There were lots of different segmented rooms, some for men and some for women. Different spaces were for different genders. There wasn't a lot of mixing in certain instances. And there was a very noticeable absence of pews or any kind of seating that I had ever expected in a place of worship. It sounds silly, but the physical space felt drastically different from any church I'd ever been in. I guess some of the things that I noticed were I'm thinking about it now. In Catholicism, there are definitely gender roles for men and women, but there aren't really physical spaces where one gender isn't allowed or something like that. So that was a bit of a shock for me. But it's not wrong or weird. The gender roles in Catholicism, I think, they're there. They're just not as obvious. So I think that's the basic, or the big thing to take away from cultural differences is that most of the guidelines for behavior really are similar. It's just different how obvious it is. Muslims still believe in God. They believe in being good and kind to other people and valuing others and all sorts of things, just like any other people do. They just happen to pray in a different way and in a different language than Catholics do. So neither one is wrong. It's just different. And I think this experience was really good for me to have so early on in my academic career because it forced me to rub elbows with a religious group that is drastically different from my own. Funny enough, when I started coming to a Catholic church here in East Lansing, that was even different from my own church back at home. So, even things in the same religion can be different. So I guess it just kind of reinforced the point for me that whether someone is in a different city or another country or they have a different language or a different faith, they're all people, which sounds really trite. But I think we forget that, especially in this political climate, with all the things going on in the news and, with this election coming up. I think a tolerance for other people and diversity is incredibly necessary. And I think this experience was a good jumping off point in a safe environment, at a university with my professor, a very protected, very academic space for me to kind of get my toes wet and see what other people believe. So, yeah. Thanks.